Just stating your name for the record, the organization with you're with.
Good morning, Chairman Hastings and members of the committee. My name is Richard Mark. My name is Richard Mark. I'm President of Ameren, Illinois, and I have with me today Jim Blessing. He's Vice President of Regulatory Policy and Energy Supply for Ameren, Illinois. I hate to say it, but we didn't get any of those gooey brownies, but I do agree with some of the issues, and the reason we're here today is to talk about, we don't think the people in downstate and southern and central Illinois are getting any of those gooey brownies either. We both have submitted our written testimony, so I'm not going to waste time trying to go through all of it, but I would like to take a few minutes just to share some of our thoughts, opinions, and potential solutions to what the state's energy needs, but more importantly, the needs of the 1.2 million customers who live in the 44,000 square miles of central and southern Illinois that is served by Ameren, Illinois. A couple days ago, I was having a conversation about our vision of creating an electric vehicle charging corridor in central and southern Illinois. The person I was talking to said, well, just pull over and charge at Walgreens. And I kind of laughed, and I thought they were just joking with me. And finally, I realized they weren't joking. And I asked about, what do you mean, Walgreens? And I was told that, well, where they live, all Walgreens have EV charging stations. My comment was, not in my neighborhood, in Collinsville. I live in Madison County, and in the Madison-St. Clair County area, and where I live, the only EV charging station is at the Ameren office and at one of the local Walmarts. So we're the second most populated area of the state, and those things aren't available at every Walgreens like they are in some places other in the state. One of the big distinctions of central and southern Illinois. That conversation made me realize just how diverse our state really is. Much of the discussion today is going to be around the FERC PJM capacity market. And again, Madison County and the rest of Ameren service territory isn't in the PJM capacity market. We belong to the MISO capacity market, another major distinction of central and southern Illinois. The Future Energy Jobs Act of 2016 was billed as a fix for the renewable energy portfolio standard. However, after budgeting $230 million a year and approximately $1 billion has been spent on renewable contracts, only 7 to 8% of the renewable energy is under contract, far short of the mandated goal of 19% by 2021, and the program is now out of money. We believe there's a better way to reach that renewable portfolio standard goals, and by accelerating a path forward and providing needed investment and economic development boosts for the downstate in a ways that is more transparent and more accountable than the current process. So I'm going to turn it over to Jim to give a quick overview of the outline of the plan that we believe is more affordable and clean energy, that will create clean energy construction across central and southern Illinois and jumpstart the electric vehicle infrastructure for the future.
Thank you, Richard, and thank you, Chairman Hastings and members of the committee, for giving us an opportunity to speak today. Just diving right into the details of our plan, our focus is on trying to get more renewables on the system in downstate Illinois at the lowest cost for our customers. And we're doing that in two ways. One, trying to make the process more efficient by changing the focus of the type of renewables that we would be going after. So currently, about 90% of the funding that has been spent has been dedicated to rooftop and community solar, and only a small portion to utility scale, and that's a large reason why the funding has run out. So one focus of our plan is to shift how the types of renewables we're procuring more to the lower cost utility scale to get more renewables on the ground. The other piece is how we're doing these procurements. Under the adjustable block program, which is where the rooftop and community is procured, we use administratively set prices and then let developers come and say how much of that they want. We want to shift that to a competitive procurement process where we say, here's how much we need. Please come tell us the least cost that you can provide that for. We think that will lower the cost and get opportunity for more renewables on the ground. We also think it makes sense to create a new funding stream for renewables, and that would be through utility ownership and operation of solar facilities within our facility. We do so in a manner in which we limit the amount of the renewables that we could satisfy as far as the requirement to 20%. And again, it's new funding. It's not taxing any of the dollars that the IPA has to spend under the current process. Finally, our plan addresses electric vehicles as well. And there we are wanting to provide incentives to third parties to come and create charging corridors along the interstate. So picture just driving up and down 55 or across the state on 70, ensuring that every 30, 40, 50 miles, there's a place that you can stop and charge your vehicle so that you can get out and travel beyond your neighborhood, knowing that you're not going to get stuck without an ability to recharge your car. We also include rebates for residential and other rebates for charging infrastructure in home, apartment buildings, for school buses and metro buses in low-income areas. And again, we think all of this is structured in a manner that meets the goals or puts Illinois on a path for its 100% clean energy goal by 2050 in a manner that makes much more sense from a customer cost perspective. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Mr. Mark, thank you very much. Next up is ComEd, Mr. Dominguez.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Thank you for inviting me. My name is Joe Dominguez. I'm the CEO of ComEd. I want to start off by saying we fully embrace at ComEd the objectives of having Illinois lead and achieving the Paris Accord targets, as well as the objective to getting to 100% clean and renewable energy. Words have power, but I think we want to focus a little bit in this presentation on math. I'm reminded that words have power, by the way, when my stomach growled when Christy kept talking about bakery products. I did not eat breakfast this morning, so that was quite painful. But what I'd like to do is supplement a little bit of my testimony on where exactly we are. We talk about where we want to get to in Illinois a lot of times, but I'm not sure we all know where we stand today, both upstate and downstate Illinois, how much progress we've made and how much progress we need to make as we go forward. I do agree with Ms. Hicks that one of the things that we need to measure our policies against is how effective they are in terms of reducing emissions. So with that, let me just share with you, and you have a PowerPoint slide deck in your package of materials. That might be easier for you to follow. But in our state right now, we have about a third of carbon emissions from the electric sector, the transportation sector, and what we call direct uses. That's industrial, residential, and business uses. In northern Illinois, it's a little bit of a different story. That's the deck on, or the stack on the right. The largest source of emissions in the ComEd service territory is actually transportation, due to the density of vehicle traffic in that part of the country, and also a reflection of the fact that we already have a lot of clean and renewable energy in the ComEd zone. We have 10 of the state's 11 nuclear units in the ComEd zone, and we have a lot of wind generation that we've built over the years. So from a carbon intensity standpoint, the carbon in the ComEd zone from the electric sector is relatively low compared to the rest of the state, but the emissions from vehicles is higher, given the fact that the population density is there. And I start off there by, because every time we've done a bill in Springfield over the last 10 years, we've focused on the electric sector. And I think what's changed in the conversation, and Richard and Jim just talked about this from the Ameren perspective, and it's in the CJA bill as well, is a focus on how we combine sectors, how we use the clean energy from the electric sector to power a transformation in the transportation sector and give customers more options. So this is where we are right now in terms of achieving our Paris Accord goals. This is the 2025 goal. Good news is we're 85% of the way there. That's, again, owing to the fact that we have a lot of clean energy in the state. In terms of clean energy as a percentage of the population, Illinois has no peer across the United States. And the ComEd zone in particular, 92% of the energy we're providing to customers can be supplied by clean energy resources in the ComEd zone today. Across the state, that number is more like 70%. So if you're thinking about getting to 100% clean and renewable energy across the state, think about we're at about 70%. In the ComEd zone, we're already at about 92%. And Ameren, due to the fact that it has only one of the state's nuclear units and due to the fact that it hasn't seen as much renewable wind development, is lagging behind. If we were to lose the clean energy resources that we have, and the reason I'm giving you this sensitivity is that it's widely known that the nuclear plants here are in some distress, we will go backwards significantly. We will go from about 85% progress to about 19% progress. So the point I'm making here is that as you think about policies in the future, don't just think about the incremental clean energy that we're going to provide. Think about preserving the clean energy, the renewable and clean energy resources that we have already. If we don't, we're going to put ourselves in a hole. And the reason that's important from a ComEd customer perspective, and it's important for us to get this policy direction from the General Assembly and the Governor, is if we just do renewables, if we focus on renewables and we lose the nuclear plants, we're going to set ourselves significantly backwards, and we're going to have to spend even more money trying to get out of that hole. And dimensionally, I want to give you a sense of just how big this is. So next, what I want to measure is the effectiveness of the two bills that were before you last year and again are before you this year. This is ComEd zone data. The number on the bottom, and again, you should have this slide in your deck, the number on the bottom is where we are as a state in terms of progress towards the Paris Accord goals. We're at 85%. We provide 92% of our energy as clean energy. If we were to pass either the path to 100 or the CJC legislation and the incremental renewables, we would easily be on a pathway to getting to the Paris Accord targets, provided that we preserve the existing clean generation. This is a sensitivity that looks at what happens if we don't. If we don't pass any legislation, and the only thing that happens is we lose the nuclear plants that are not already covered by FEJA, we go from 85% compliance to 19% compliant overnight. Even if we allow the nuclear plants to retire and attempt to replace them with either the Clean Jobs Coalition renewables or the Path to 100 renewables, and we double the speed with which they propose, and we double the budget with which they propose, we would only get to 50 to 55% compliance on the Paris Accords and 60 to 65% compliant. So from an analytical perspective, I'm taking quite literally, Mr. Chairman, where you are, you've asked us to be in terms of setting the stage. I know you will have a great many policies that you'll investigate, the different things that are being proposed in the various bills. What I'm suggesting to you is that at each step, we come back to the analytics and we measure the progress that we expect from those policy steps from a deep analytical footing. Otherwise, we're going to end up in the same place we've ended up before, where we think we are making progress, and the words sound good and maybe make our stomach feel good, but the analytical results are left wanting. Thank you.
Right on time, Joe. Next on the list will be Mr. Starr from the Illinois Power Agency.